What is the BAS? It's not a fish or Barry and Sally or beans and sauce. It stands for a business activity statement. From Wikipedia, it is a form submitted to the Australian taxation officers by all businesses to report their taxation obligations. With small business who do not pay wages, it is the form to report the GST charged and paid and the GST claim and paid out. For businesses who do pay wages, they must also report on the BAS the gross wages they have paid and the total PAYG withheld from the total gross wages for the period nominated on the BAS. It is required from businesses whose gross income is, remember gross income, not profit, actual income you invoice out and get paid for before GST, equal or greater than $75,000, and or businesses who elect to be registered for GST. So you can elect to be registered for GST even if your income is equal to or less than $75,000. When you are registered, you must charge 10% on top of your sale price, and you can claim 10% back on your purchases. Why be registered for GST if your gross income is less than $75,000? Let's face it, we're going to business to make money and be successful. We want our business to grow. So even if you are not planning on having a gross income of equal to or greater than $75,000 in the first year, but are planning to in the following years, because really otherwise what's the point? It might be a good idea to register from the start and get the financial benefits from the start. Because if you are registered for GST, you must charge it, but you can also claim the GST portion of your purchases. Let's say you are registered for GST. Sale price before GST is $100. Cost of goods sold before GST is $50. Gross profit is $50, not bad. Let's say you aren't registered for GST. Your sale price is still going to be $100. There's no GST. Cost of goods sold including GST is $55 because you can't claim it. Gross profit is only $45. You lose $5. So if you've gone into business with the intention of making a pretty good living, you might as well be registered for GST first up. So you've registered for GST. Now you have to give the ATO the GST you have charged and get back from them the GST you have paid. This is done using the BAS, or Business Activity Statement. You can elect to do it monthly or quarterly or yearly. Personally, from a cash planning or cash flow point of view, I would not pay it any less than quarterly. Having to keep aside 10% of what you have charged, less 10% of what you have paid all year in order to pay it at the end of the year is hard work, especially for a startup business. It's a lot easier to keep it aside for a quarter, or even easier, a month. There is one more issue to consider when registering for GST and completing your BAS. Cash basis or accrual. With cash, you pay the GST charge or claim the GST in the period you were paid for it or you paid it. I know, this is a doozy. With accrual, you pay the GST charge or claim the GST in the period you invoiced it out or were charged for it, even if you have not been paid or paid for it. If your annual gross income is equal to or greater than $2 million, then you must pay your GST on an accrual basis. If it is less than $2 million, then you can pay it on a cash basis. Cash basis with a quarterly BAS. Invoice $1,000 out plus GST on the 1st of the 7th 11. Got paid for this invoice on the 1st of the 10th 11. You pay the GST on this invoice in the December 11 BAS. On accrual basis with a quarterly BAS, say you also invoiced out $1,000 plus GST on the 1st of the 7th 11. Got paid for this invoice on the 1st of the 10th 11. You pay the GST on this invoice in the September BAS. Invoiced for purchased goods including GST, on the 1st of the 7th 11. You paid for those goods on the 1st of the 10th 11. Claim the GST in the December BAS on an accrual basis. Invoice for goods purchased including GST on the 1st of the 7th 11. Paid for the goods on the 1st of the 10th 11, but you claim the GST on the September BAS. Here is a front page of your BAS statement. This is the period this BAS covers. You take option 1 if you are planning on paying your BAS when due. You take option 2 if you want to calculate GST quarterly and report annually. You provide less info, only total sales at G1, and on the next page GST collected at 1A and paid at 1B. If you are eligible for this option allows you to pay a GST instalment. The instalment amount is worked out by the tax office. You then do an annual return and pay the difference or receive a refund. You write the amount in G21 in 1A on the next page. To be eligible, you must be a small business with an annual turnover of less than 2 million. Not a big fan of this one, as there are risks of the instalments not being enough after you work out your annual return. This is the back page of your BAS. In here, if you pay wages, you put your gross wages at W1, your PAYG tax withheld at W2, W5 and 4. At 1A, you put the GST you have collected. It will depend on whether you are cash or accrual. At 1B will be the tax you have paid, again depending on whether you are cash or accrual. 8A equals 1A plus 4. And finally, if you are still awake, 9 equals 8A minus 1B. And one last little thing, tick yes or no if 8A is more than 8B. If you tick no, it indicates that you require a refund. And then you just have to send the BAS into the tax office and make no payment, of course.